Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 17th October 2021. Actually, 15th and 16th Hyderabad edition it is not issued by Hindu Analysis. So from last 2 days, we don't have news analysis due to not issuing of Hindu edition of Hyderabad. So in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 17th October 2021. So this Sunday's newspaper is important to cover environment in ecology and as well as science and technology news point of view. Okay. So in this lecture, we are going to discuss 8 topics. So let us have a look over the topics we are going to discuss in this lecture. So first one, it is about yellow alert. So yesterday in Hyderabad, actually there was a full rainfall and we saw heavy rainfall in Hyderabad, and that led to some areas that are flooded actually. So here IMD issued yellow alert for 7 districts in Kerala. In Kerala also it is receiving a very heavy rainfall. So because of this, IMD issued yellow alert for 7 districts in Kerala. So this topic is important from geography point of view. So you need to know about this color codes. For example, green alert, yellow alert, orange alert and red alert will be given by IMD. So that will be important from your prelims point of view. And next topic is about our Jaishankar to visit Israel. So here we can relate this topic to our India-Israel relations. So this will be important from our international relations. So I will suggest you people to watch map pointing video regarding West Asia. I recorded it very clear regarding especially Israel-Palestine issue, everything. So please watch that video, and the link of that video is given in description box. That will be very helpful to understand what happened in this Israel and as well as Palestine issue, etc. And next topic is about Global Hunger Index. So on October 14th, this Global Hunger Index may be released. So now we are going to discuss about this topic. It will be important from our society point of view. And next topic, it is about IIT Kanpur team identified a novel target to treat this prostate cancer. So this prostate cancer is mainly commonly seen type of cancer in males. So here IIT Kanpur mainly identified one important gene which is responsible for this prostate cancer. We are going to discuss that. That will be important from our science and technology point of view. And next one is about climate stimulated. So this article mainly talking about whether these oceans are present on surface of Venus or not. So this article is important from our science and technology. Here you need to know some facts regarding this Venus. Next one is age of moon rock. Already we discussed this topic in our earlier lecture series. It is talking about Chang 5 mission. So this Chang 5, it is a Chinese mission. So it brought some samples from the surface of moon, and the study mainly says that the age of the moon, which is very much less when you compared to earlier missions, which mainly brought us some samples like Apollo, etc. So that will be important from our science and technology again. And next one, it is about advantage seagrass. So this article mainly talking about relationship between seagrass and as well as otters. So how otters are contributing for the increase in genetic diversity of this seagrass. This will be important from our environment and ecology, which comes under our GS paper 3. And next topic is about tobacco use. So one important study which mainly found by archaeologists that hunters and gatherers, they started using this tobacco. So this was found in recent studies. So this is regarding our history point of view. So now let's get started, and now let us see first topic. IMD issues yellow alert for 7 districts in Kerala. So if you see this image, then you can easily identify there is heavy rainfall that is occurring in Kerala. So vehicles, they stranded on the busy Kottayam Kumli road after landslide on Saturday. So because of heavy rainfall, that is also leading to landslides. So because of landslide, which is mainly blocking the road. So here, because of this, IMD issued yellow alert for 7 districts in Kerala. So this article will be important from our geography point of view, which mainly comes under GS paper 1. Okay. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that several districts in Kerala, they are poised to receive heavy rainfall. So here several districts in Kerala, they are receiving heavy rainfall. So here why we are seeing heavy rainfall that is happening not only in Kerala and also in some important regions in southern India, especially in Hyderabad. Yesterday we received very heavy rainfall. So if you see, here we have Arabian Sea, here we have Bay of Bengal, right? So what happened here in Arabian Sea in southeast side? So here, okay, so in this is north, this is south, east, west, right? So in the southeast side, okay, so this is our northeast and this is southeast. So in the southeast side, so we can see there is a low pressure area. So because of low pressure area which is created in the southeastern side of our Arabian Sea, then because of this low pressure area that is mainly formed here. So because of this low pressure area in the southeast Arabian Sea, that is leading to intense spells. It is mainly seen in Kerala and as well as in southern parts of this India, in peninsular India, in southern parts, we are seeing there is heavy rainfall. So here you need to understand what is this color coded weather warning. You need to know about this color coded weather warning. So this will be important from your prelims. So what is this color coded weathering? So based on the weather forecast, IMD will be giving color coded like green color, green code, or we can say yellow alert or red alert, like that. So here you need to know types of those color and why. Okay, what is the importance? And if you see about this color coded weather warning system, it mainly issued by IMD. And what is the important objective behind that color code? It is mainly to alert people ahead of severe or hazardous weather. So whenever there is a weather which is a very bad and it might lead to some damage to people means, so here IMD will be issuing some color code. Mainly that will help to reduce damage or widespread disruption or danger to life. So IMD mainly issues 4 color codes. First one here is green. Green means all is well. There is no advisory which is issued here. And second one is yellow. Yellow, which is in now case which may be issued by IMD for Kerala, that is yellow. That means be aware. Yellow indicates severely bad weather spanning across several days. It also suggests that weather could change for the worse and it may cause disruption in day-to-day activities. So yellow color means we can see like there is severe bad weather. Severe bad weather that is mainly spanning across several days, and also it also suggests that weather could change for the worse, which mainly causes even disruption in our day-to-day activities. And if you're talking about orange and amber color, it means be prepared. So orange color warning mainly issued because of some extremely bad weather with the potential of disruption of commute with the road and as well as rail closures, interruption of power supply. So when there is heavy rainfall, sometimes we can see there will be some disruption for our power supply, and even will be no phone or telephonic availability or signals availability or road or rail network. So in that conditions, here IMD will issue this orange alert. And next one is red alert. Red alert means we need to take actions. So when the extremely bad weather conditions are certainly going up to disturb travel, power, and also it will lead to sometimes significant loss of life, then this red alert will be issued. So these are the 4 alerts which are mainly given by IMD. And now let us try to focus on some facts regarding India Meteorological Department in simple IMD. So this IMD was established in 1875. So this is an agency of Ministry of Earth Sciences of Government of India. And this IMD, it is a principal agency which mainly responsible for meteorological observations, weather forecasting, and as well as seismology. Okay, so these are some important facts regarding this IMD, India Meteorological Department. And now let us try to talk about next topic. It is about Jai Shankar. Jai Shankar is our External Affairs Minister. So our External Affairs Minister, he is to visit Israel for high level engagement. So recently, I think 3 months back, this Israel is in news. So we came up with a 3-year action program in our agriculture cooperation between India and Israel. So you need to know this background before reading this article. Okay. So now let us try to see this topic, and this topic will be important from our international relations, which mainly comes under our GS paper 2, and this topic will be exclusively important from our mains. So this year mains you can expect a question regarding India-Israel relations for sure. So if you see context, it mainly says that External Affairs Minister, our External Affairs Minister, he will leave for a 5-day visit. So he is going to Israel for 5-day visit, and this is the first such high level engagement within 4 months old government of Prime Minister, that is Naftali Bennett. Okay, and his first visit to country as a minister. So now our External Affairs Minister, he is going to Israel for a 5-day visit. So here we need to focus on what are the topics they are going to talk about, and you need to know about even some parts, okay, some points regarding this India-Israel relations. So this topic will be important from your mains. So for example, you need to know about economic relations, defense relations, and even other areas of cooperation as well. So if you're talking about details, it mainly says that the important aim of this visit, it is to further solidify the strategic partnership announced during the 2017 historic visit to Israel of Prime Minister. So here one important aim of this visit, it is to furthermore improve strategic partnership which mainly announced during 2017 historic visit to Israel. So in 2017, our Prime Minister Modi ji, he visited Israel. So at that meeting, they mainly came with a strategic partnership. So now the important aim of this visit to solidify this strategic partnership which mainly announced during this 2017. And if you're talking about this 2017 visit, which mainly marked the first time an Indian Prime Minister who had visited Israel. So here our Prime Minister Modi ji was the first Prime Minister to visit this Israel. And since then, the relationship between the two countries has focused on expanding a knowledge-based partnership. For example, it also increased in the fields of innovation, research, and also we are mainly focusing to boost our Make in India initiative as well. So if you're talking about map of Israel, so this is the Israel map, okay? So this is Israel, and here you have to see some locations. Here we have Sinai Peninsula, here Jordan, here this is our Dead Sea, and here we have this Golan Heights, Syria and Lebanon. So here we have this Gaza Strip, here West Bank and Golan Heights. So these are the 3 important areas that you need to remember, and these 3 areas that will be in news frequently. Golan Heights, West Bank, Gaza Strip, and here we have Dead Sea. Now let us try to talk about India-Israel relations. So this part will be important from your mains. So recently in June or July 2021, we came up with this 3-year work program with Israel. And this 3-year work program mainly contains 2 important things. First one is Indo-Israeli agriculture projects. Second one is Indo-Israel Village of Excellence. So if you're talking about this 3-year work program, which is mainly focusing to grow existing centers of excellence and as well as to establish new centers of excellence and to increase the centers of excellence value chain and even to bring centers excellence to self-sufficient modes and even to encourage private sector companies and as well as collaboration. So this is about this 3-year work program we recently came up with. So if you're talking about some facts regarding this Indo-Israeli agriculture partner project, so first one is Indo-Israeli Agriculture Cooperation Project, which mainly started in year 2008, and recently we came with signing of 3-year action plan. And here under this Indo-Israel agriculture project, so both started an agriculture fund, and the worth here is $50 million, and they finally focused on dairy, farming technology, and even micro irrigation. And by 2014 there are about 10 centers of excellence which operated throughout India. And these centers, why they are important? Because they are providing free training sessions for farmers on efficient agriculture techniques and useful, and also they demonstrated about using Israeli technological expertise, vertical farming, drip irrigation, as well as soil solarization. So these are the things which mainly taught in this centers of excellence. And if you're talking about Indo-Israel Village of Excellence, so this Village of Excellence, it is a new concept now. And this new concept mainly aims at creating model ecosystem in agriculture across 8 states as of now. And this program will also promote increase of net income, and also it will focus on better livelihood of individual farmer, and it will focus on even transforming traditional farms into modern intensive farms, which are mainly based on Indo-Israel Agriculture Action Plan standards. Okay, so here in this Village of Excellence, so these are the new topic and the new projects or new concepts, and this Village of Excellence which mainly focusing on creating a model ecosystem in agriculture, and these are at present they are mainly focusing on 8 states. So in these 8 states we are having about 13 centers of excellence within 75 villages. And how this program will be useful? So this program finally that will promote increase in the net income of farmer, and it's also helpful for better livelihood for farmer. So if you're talking about doubling of farmers' income, what is one of important aim of present government, right? To achieve this important thing and important target, so we need to focus on infrastructure, and as well as we need to focus on technology, and even collaboration with other countries, it is very much necessary. And here they are also mainly focusing on large scale and complete value chain approach with economic sustainability, and amended with Israeli novel technologies and as well as methodologies, etc. So here this program mainly focuses on 3 important things, or 3 pillars are there for this Indo-Israel Village of Excellence. So those 3 pillars include modern agriculture infrastructure. It will also focus on capacity building measures and even market linkage. So these are 3 important pillars of this VOE, that is Village of Excellence. And now let us try to talk about different areas of cooperation between India and Israel. So first one is economic cooperation. So if you see economic cooperation or history of this trade between India and Israel, if you go back to 1992, trade was US dollars 200 million. And now in 2018-19, this trade which mainly increased to US dollars 5.65 billion, okay, between India and Israel. So here in this trade we are enjoying trade surplus. That means we are exporting more than importing from this Israel, and we are having a trade favor of US dollars 1.8 billion. And trade in diamonds, which mainly constitute 40% of bilateral trade between India and Israel. India is Israel's 3rd largest trading partner in Asia as well. So Israel company have invested in India in different fields like energy, renewable energy, telecom, real estate, water technologies, and also they are mainly focusing to setting up research and development centers in India. So these are some important things that you need to remember. And now let us try to talk about defense. So if you talk about the defense between India and Israel, so one thing that need to come into your mind is Barak missiles. These Barak missiles we got from Israel. Okay, so Israel is also one of the top 4 arms supplier for India. So almost if you see military sales, which is about US dollars 1 billion, that is seen every year from Israel. And Indian armed forces, they have inducted a wide array of Israeli weapon system over the years. Okay, and we got Spider quick reaction anti-aircraft missile system and even Barak anti-missile defense system from Israel. So these are some important things that you need to remember. Now let us try to see next topic. It is about Global Hunger Index. So this hunger index mainly released on October 14th and 15th and 16th. There is no news analysis, and now we are going to discuss about this topic. So this topic is talking about Global Hunger Index. So this will be important from your society, or we can say like social issues point of view, and even you can talk about this topic under governance also. So this will be important from our GS paper too. Now let us try to talk about this topic. So if you see context, it mainly says that Global Hunger Index 2021, and this index mainly prepared jointly by Irish aid agency called as Concern Worldwide, and also German organization, it is called as Wealth Hunger Life. So Concern Worldwide and Wealth Hunger Life, they come up with this Global Hunger Index. And this index, mainly termed hunger level in India, is as alarming. So this is one cause of concern now. So now let us try to talk about details regarding India's rank. So there are 116 countries they were ranked. Out of this, India got 101 position in 2021. So if you see in 2020, it was 94th place. So now we can see further more downgrading of rank that is seen. And in this 2021 ranking, India has been placed behind its neighbor countries. For example, even Pakistan, Bangladesh and also Nepal. So GHI, Global Hunger Index score, also has decreased. In 2000 it was 38.8, and now it is decreased to 28.8 to 27.5 between 2012 and 2021. So these are some important details regarding India's ranking. And if you're talking about how this score is calculated, so this score, it is mainly calculated based on 4 indicators. First one is undernourishment. Second one is child wasting. Third one is child stunting. And last one is child mortality. So we discussed about this 4 terms number of times. So undernourishment means whatever the nutrition that is required, we are not taking that nutrition. So that is called as undernourishment. Child wasting means if you are comparing with age here, for age, so how much amount of the weight should be present, but less than that there is low weight according to age. Stunting means it is regarding height. Okay, so according to age there is short, the children will not grow. Okay, and next one is child mortality. Mortality means nothing but death. Okay, the death rate of children who are aged below 5 years. So these are 4 important indicators of this GHI score. So if you are talking about Global Hunger Index, so it is a tool to measure and to track hunger across the world. Okay, so this is one of the tool, and also it is one of the measure that we can track hunger across the world. So by the region as well as by the country. So it is mainly calculated annually. So this is one important prelims fact. It is not biannually, but it is annually. Means every year we will get this Global Hunger Index. And it mainly results, these results are published in a report which issued in the month of October each year. So every year in October we will get this Global Hunger Index. So these are some important things that you need to remember. Now let us move on to next topic. It is about prostate cancer. So IIT Kanpur team identifies a novel target to treat this prostate cancer. So now let us try to see. So here you need to understand what is the meaning of this word cancer. So cancer means, already we know that in every cell we can see mitosis will be happen. Mitosis is nothing but the cell division that is happening. But in this cell, whenever there is uncontrolled cell division is happening, that will lead to formation of tumors or masses. So So these tumors will not be present in one place. It will have tendency to move from one place to another place. It is called as metastasis. So if we are talking about cancer or tumor cells, we are having two types of tumors, benign tumors and as well as we have malignant tumors. So benign tumors means those tumors, in this cells also we can see uncontrolled division of cells is happening and they will be forming mass. And these masses, they will be present at a particular place, they will not have ability to move. But in this malignant tumors, so there will be cell division that is happening rapidly and it is uncontrolled cell division and have tendency to move from one place to another place. For example, tumor is found on my hand, and if you see after 1 hour, it will be in the right hand, or it will be moved towards my legs, or it will be also moving to our vital organs. So in this way, here it is very much difficult to identify where this cell exactly located. So this type of cells are called as malignant cells. So if you're talking about context here, researchers at IIT Kanpur, they have discovered a particular gene, that is DLX1, okay, DLX1. So it is one important gene which mainly plays an important role in development of jaws, skeleton, and as well as interneurons in the brain, has an important role to play in growth and development of prostate cancer. So now recently IIT Kanpur researchers, they found that one important gene, that is DLX1, which plays an important role in development of jaws and as well as even skeleton interneurons, they plays an important role in growth and as well as development of this cancer. So if you're talking about some important details, it mainly says that DLX1 protein is found at elevated levels in this prostate cancer patients. So because of this, this DLX1 protein, which is also taken as urine based biomarker. So what is the meaning of this? For example, if you are getting any fever or if you are getting any infections in your urinary tract, so for that, here doctor will suggest to take out your urine, and this urine will be tested for presence of like albumin, for example, we can say ketones and as well as pus cells, epithelial cells, color, acidity, etc. So in this way here, so in this prostate cancer patients also, because of this DLX1 protein that is present, so here it is mainly taken into consideration as a urine based biomarker as well. And IIT Kanpur has found that DLX1 protein has expressed a high levels in the prostate cancer cells. So this gene will be also very important role in growth, development of this tumor and also spread of this cancer to other organs in our body. So whenever this tumor which is moving from one place to another place, this process is called as a metastasis. So this is one important keyword. And this one is, first researchers, they found 60% of this prostate cancer tissues, they have higher levels of this DLX1 protein. So this DLX1 protein, which is highly seen about 60% in this prostate cancer cases. And when the team genetically ablated this DLX1 gene that mainly produces the protein, so this gene will be helpful for production of this protein, and this protein will have ability of this cancer cells to grow, develop and as well spread to other parts of this body. And one more thing here is androgen receptor is also very much responsible for promoting or development of this prostate cancer. And also about 50% of this prostate cancer harbors an aberrant gene which is the product of two genes. So here we can see these two genes, that is TMPRSS2 and as well as ERG. So they are very much responsible for production of high levels of this ERG protein, and this will be helpful mainly. This type of studies will be helpful mainly to inhibit that gene, means we can go for treatment for this cancer. So this is gist of this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. Title says climate stimulated. So this article mainly talking about Venus. Venus did ever have oceans or not? It is talking about Venus and oceans. So this study which gives some insights regarding ocean's presence on surface of Venus. So this article will be important from science and technology. So we are talking about location of this Venus in our solar system. Here we have sun, right? So this is our sun. So first planet we have here is Mercury, and second one is Venus, and third one it is our Earth, and fourth one is Mars. So these are terrestrial planets, and here we have asteroid belt, and here we have Jovian planets. So these Jovian planets includes our Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. So these are our terrestrial planets. So terrestrial planets include Mercury, Venus, Earth and our Mars. So here this Venus, it is also called as twin Earth. So why we need to study about the presence of these oceans on Venus, and why there are the number of studies which are mainly conducted on Venus. So this is the thing we need to think about in this perspective. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you're talking about context, so previous studies have suggested that Venus may have been a much more hospitable place in the past and with its own liquid water oceans. So earlier studies mainly said that there might be presence of oceans on the surface of Venus. But recent study which mainly published, it mainly says that Venus is unlikely to have harbored any oceans any time in the past. So this recent study says that till now in the past, so Venus do not have any oceans. So if you see details of this study, it mainly says that researchers stimulated the climate of Earth and Venus at the very beginning of their evolution, when the surface of planets was still molten. So here researchers mainly stimulate the climate of Earth and as well as Venus here at a very beginning stage. Even they do not have even solid phase. That means even when they were molten in stage, so whatever the climate is there, so this climate stimulated by the researchers. And the high temperature that mainly seen in Venus, this meant that any water could have been present in the form of steam. So whenever there is a high temperature, means if there is any water is present, so that water will boil and that will lead to formation of steam. So water will be present in the form of vapor when we are seeing there is a high temperature. So especially on the surface of the Venus also we see there is a high temperature. So water will be present in the form of vapor or steam. So using some sophisticated three-dimensional models of atmosphere, so here these scientists, they succeeded to stimulate Earth's current climate and as well as future evolution. And this team mainly studied that, so because of high temperature which is present on surface of Venus, so water is present in a steam form. So whenever this water which is in a vapor form, if it needs to condense, means we need to cool down, right? So whenever there is a cool down is happening, then only this vapor will be converted into liquid form. But what happened on the surface of the Venus, we do not see any cooling down of the temperature. So here, because of this, there is no condensation of the vapor that is seen. So because of all these things, we cannot see these oceans are mainly present on surface of Venus. So this is about this study. And now let us try to focus on some important facts regarding this Venus. So Venus, it is named after Roman goddess of love and beauty, and it is the second planet from Sun, and it is the sixth in the solar system in size and as well as mass. And if you see, we can see this Venus in our sky during night time. It is the second brightest natural object after this after this moon. So after this moon in our night sky, so we can see the second brightest natural object, that is this Venus. And next one is, unlike other planets in our solar system, only two planets, that is Venus and as well as Uranus, they spin in a clockwise manner. Okay, and this Venus, it is one of the hottest planet in our solar system because it has mainly high concentration of carbon dioxide. So because of this high amount of carbon dioxide, that will lead to this greenhouse effect. So this is the one important thing, an important reason behind hottest planet in our solar system. And if you are talking about what are the reasons behind studying this Venus, so first one is, it will help to learn how Earth-like planets they evolve. Okay, and this one is it will help for modeling of Earth's climate and also serves as a cautionary tale on how dramatically planet climate can change. So if we understand the climate of Venus, we can also understand the climate change that is happening in this planets, Earth-like planets. So this is about this topic. And now let us move on to the next topic. It is about age of moon rock. I think 1 week back we discussed about this topic in our Hindu analysis. So this article mainly talking about age of moon rock. So if you see context, it mainly says that a lunar probe which launched by Chinese Space Agency, and that probe is Chang'e 5. Okay, so in this Chang'e 5 mission, which mainly returned back to Earth with some samples from the surface of moon. So this lunar probe, which mainly launched by this Chinese Space Agency, recently brought back first fresh samples of rocks and debris from moons in more than 40 years. And if you're talking about details, it mainly says that now an international team of scientists, they has determined the age of this moon rock, and this age which is very much close to 1.97 billion years. Okay, so age here is 1.97 billion years old. So all of the volcanic rocks are collected by Apollo, which mainly says that it is about 3 billion years. So earlier missions which got the samples from the moon, so after the study we know that it is about 3 billion years ago. But reason this Chang'e 5 which got some samples, it mainly says that so these samples are just 1.97 billion years old. So this is about this topic. And here you need to refer about this, what is this Chang'e 5 mission, because I discussed number of times. Now let us try to see next topic. It is about advantage seagrass. So it is mainly talking about seagrass and otters. So this is otters. So these are the species you can see, that is otters, and here you can see this is seagrass. So it is about seagrass and otters. It will be important from our environment and ecology. If you see context, university and reported in Science. So I took this article entirely from Science, but not Science Journal, but not from Hindu. Hindu, it gave a very little information. So I think this information is not sufficient to understand the concept. So I did some research in the Science, Science, and I found some important things that are given elaborately in this Science Journal. So I took the content directly from this Science Journal here. So university mainly reported in Science, which mainly found that seagrass meadows are much more genetically diverse, and thus they are very much resilient in areas where otters are present. So where these otters are present, so in these areas, if you see this seagrass, and these seagrass, they are very much genetically diverse wherever these otters are present. So there is some relationship between otters and seagrass. So if you see here, wherever you can see this seagrass, okay, so let me draw a diagram. So let us consider this as a seagrass. So seagrass which is present here, and if there is any water, okay, any water which came here and which is mainly digging pits here. So because of digging pits in this area, what happened, it will cause some stress in this seagrass. So because of this, seagrass which is mainly having some stress, experiences some stress. So because of this stress, to overcome this stress, it will come up with more flowering. So because of more flowering, that will lead to some of reproductive or genetically diverse seagrass that is seen wherever these otters are present. So this is concept actually. So if you are talking about this seagrass, it is a terrestrial plant that made its way back to oceans. If you are talking about this seagrass, it is a terrestrial plant. So this is one important prelims fact. And this seagrass will have two methods of reproduction. So first one is asexual reproduction and as a sexual reproduction. So if you are talking about asexual reproduction, which mainly happens in clone itself, okay, clone itself. So what happens whenever the seagrass which is having roots, right? So let us consider these are the roots of the seagrass, and these roots, they will pop up with the new shoots. Okay, so through the roots it is coming with a new seagrass. So it is called as asexual reproduction, and it mainly happens through roots. Okay, through roots they will pop up new roots and which are genetically identical to parent plant. Okay, so if the same root of so and so plant which is giving rise to new plants means, so these are genetically identical, right? So next one is sexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction means, so it will leads to flowers, and these flowers will be converted into fruits and as well as seeds. So these seeds will be dispersed, and that will leads to genetically diverse thing. Okay, so this is the two types of reproduction that we can see in this seagrass. So if you're talking about this study, so it mainly says that, so research is mainly focused on eelgrass. So this eelgrass, it is a type of seagrass which mainly found in cool waters in this North Pacific Ocean. So they thought that whenever the otters are disturbing this seagrass, so they will undergo stress. So because of this stress, they will flower more. So whenever the flowering more means what happened, there will be the fertilization, there will be reproduction that is seen. So because of this, whenever there is a dispersion of these seeds that is happening, that will lead to genetically diversity. Okay, so researchers mainly found that whenever otters dug up about 5% of these meadows where they live, and in these meadows we are seeing there is a large amount of this genetic diversity that is present. There is about 1/3 of genetic diversity which is higher, that is seen where these otters are present rather than otters are absent in this region. So this is about the study, and I hope it is clear. Now let us try to see next topic. It is about tobacco use. So here you need to talk about tobacco. What are the climatic conditions which are necessary for the growth of tobacco? So this will be important from our geography point of view. And what are the things which is said in this article, that will be important from our history point of view. So if you're talking about context, it mainly says that archaeologists, they have uncovered evidence that hunter-gatherers in North America, they were using this tobacco around 12,300 years ago to 9,000 years, which is earlier than what is previously documented. So your context says that archaeologists, they have uncovered evidence. They got evidence regarding these hunters gatherers in North America. They started using this tobacco very long years ago. So if you're talking about details, it mainly says that there is much debate is now going on how and when these tobacco plants were first domesticated. So now we need to know about when and where these plants they were first domesticated. And researchers, they have discovered oldest direct evidence of tobacco use at a hunter-gatherer camp in Utah West Desert. So in this Utah West Desert, they found first evidence. And let me know where is this desert is located in comment box. Don't forget about this. And now let us try to talk about what are the climatic conditions that are necessary for growth of this tobacco. So tobacco mainly introduced in India, okay, during our modern history time, that is after this Portuguese who entered into India, they introduced this tobacco in India. So here 50 to 100 centimeters of annual rainfall is important, and we need temperature about 15 to 20 degrees centigrade temperature. And tobacco cannot sustain rainfall which is more than 100 centimeters. That means heavy rainfall areas are not suitable for growing of this tobacco. And it is mainly grown in warm climates with rich, well-drained soils. And too dry weather, it is also not suitable because it will lead to breaking of the leaf. So this is the gist of this topic. And now let us try to see some important topics. So 2 topics I took from the Hindu and 2 topics from Down to Earth. So first topic, it is about a new class of object. So this article also I found in paper 12, page number 12. So this is about a new type of emissions that is coming from our Milky Way galaxy. So that article didn't give much information. So because of that, I ignored that. So if you are interested, you can see that topic. And next one is virus less likely to develop resistance to molnupiravir. So regarding this topic, I discussed 4 days back regarding this molnupiravir. It is a new antiviral drug which is mainly used to treat this COVID-19. And this about this molnupiravir, you need to know some details. So please revise this topic once again. And next topic, it is about over 100 countries, they signed this Kunming Declaration. So this Kunming Declaration is very important, and you have to refer what is this Kunming Declaration. For students who joined our current affairs package, so I think on 14th October, I included this conveying declaration in our daily current affairs PDF. So please refer that once. And next one is fish species found only in Pacific, discovered in Bay of Bengal. Actually from Pacific region, so this fish, that is scorpion fish, that started migrated towards this Bay of Bengal. So what are the reasons for this migration? Means due to the increasing of global warming. Okay, so these are the some important topics that you need to refer, that will be helpful for your prelims and as well as mains. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.